is going to be taken away by MVP this time. They just don't want to deal with any of the shenanigans, and Beyond wants to try and do more than 2,000 damage this game.
Gragas is banned early. I was about to ask the question of if Gragas would be left open, and the answer is no after his 11-1 run. Actually, sorry, 10-1 run in playoffs, where he was the staple jungler, the winning jungler. So the jungle pool is down 2.5, I guess. We haven't seen Jungle Cho'Gath in Korea outside of one single game by the Rocks Tigers. The Taliyah ban also. So MVP basing on wanting Afreeca to wholesale change their draft.
Yeah, not going to be the option of heading towards that one, but these aren't the these aren't the picks that have necessarily pigeonholed the Afreeca Freecs, as that's going to be a Kalista ban once again. Interesting against Maha, who hasn't had it very much
Tristana
success.
is available and is very likely to be first picked, but what about the Spectre of the Draven? As MVP now, you're suddenly wondering about AD carries and maybe wanting to pick AD carry after the enemy team, but Afreeca doesn't have to stick with something like an early round Tristana. And speaking of early rounding, we see a pretty damn early Galio. Was pretty much banned permanently in the past. A big pick for Kuro as well. We see it here taken by MVP, and that means that Afreeca have a lot of options available at the AD carry and bot lane role.
Yeah, and that is going to be the takeaway from MVP this time. It was banned on the red side by them earlier on, but now it's Kramer's turn to pick up the Xayah. I wonder whether Maha's been practicing the Draven to try and deliver some justice to him in the counter matchup, but I highly doubt it. Maokai now being looked at once again for either Spirit or Marin, but likely to go towards Marin, who had some decent engages towards the latter half of that game, but he always just has been that incredible teleport user, and Maokai is just brilliant getting those flanking teleports going.
I mean, he's always been brilliant on tanks, but when we moved over to 7.14, his tank play left a lot to be desired. Even his teleports were letting him down, so seeing vintage Marin in Game 1 was important for Afreeca, who need to look past this series. They need to be able to win a lot if they're actually going to be making it forward past this stage and make it to the World Championships. They can still qualify. They win 3 best-of-5. So let's pick on the Maokai. Looking on the blue side, Sejuani is taken. So looking for a tank matchup in the jungle. Sejuani can go comfortably against Gragas or Zac and have similar teamfight tank initiation. We'll see what Afreeca decide from there. Will be Xayah versus Tristana. The Xayah priority in this game is largely around the last time these two teams played. We already know that Maha and Kramer prefer the Xayah. Kramer 11-3 on the season. But last time these two teams played, it was MVP first game and then Afreeca first game and MVP games 2 and 3. Totaled at 11.75 KDA. So everyone was popping off on the Xayah.
Yeah. In fact, what was it? For Maha, his scoreline was 26-17. That was his score, not to be confused with 26-17. It's 20 space.
Numbers are hard, Atlas.
It's so hard.
Malzahar banned against Kuro. This is one of his pocket picks against...
He's played it once, I believe.
Twice, but both times against Galio. He likes it into the Galio matchup. The percentage health damage would do a treat on both the Galio and also the Sejuani. It seems like they're just responding to scrims, though, and he hasn't necessarily been playing it a lot in solo queue. You're right to be a bit perturbed, but it's one of the few picks Kuro has into Galio. You'll notice no Cassiopeia banned so far. Cassiopeia is another pick that can go very comfortably into the Galio as a farm matchup. Lucian as well. So Malzahar being banned so high priority tells us something that there's a unique factor there that is quintessentially Kuro.
Yeah, I feel like Lucian could be the next ban here. 2 seconds to go. MVP needs to make up their mind as Olaf is taken away from Spirit. And he doesn't look super happy about it, but probably isn't going to mind too much. The guy has a lot of different choices.
Usually we would see the mid laner picked here so that you could flex the Maokai later, but they're just going to draft Jarvan. It's still a flex draft, so the reason you can do this is it's not clear where the members are going. They'll decide it based on who was taken in the top side. Jarvan can't lane into everything that Maokai can.
Yeah, I also really like the fact that they're not picking their mid lane assuming that Galio is going to be heading into the mid as well, because Max has played some crazy things and Galio has been a support that has worked in the past. Well, it's not going top lane as ADD going to once again hop on the Gnar. He's happy to play it into either the Jarvan or the Maokai, depending on which one heads up there.
And even worth noting that Galio has been a top laner situationally into a champion like Maokai as well. So flexes upon flexes. Draft finally comes together. Heavy tank comp, largely built around the Justana. MVP have to play around bot side, and let's be clear, they have a Galio ultimate, teleports, tanks to do so, but MVP need their bot lane to get ahead. Afreeca much more balanced on their draft. Seeing what they take into mid, and because it's Kuro, you see why the Malzahar was banned, because his Cassiopeia has been decent this season, but not a standout. His Lucian looked pretty bad the one time he brought it out, and clearly he doesn't feel comfortable to play it. So they ban away Malzahar, and in the end it's Corki, who doesn't necessarily have as winning a matchup as some of those picks where you really feel good about scaling. He'll get his Trinity Force under pretty low pressure, but because Kuro has a bit more of an eclectic champion pool compared to some of our mid laners, the fact that Lucian and Cassio were left open was no penalty to MVP.
Still does have a very good Corki though, so has had some fantastic performances. A lot of those MVP points that he picked up were on the Corki.
The big reason you don't want to go Corki and you want to go Lucian is you force him to itemize armor. Against Corki Maokai, he can build magic resist, which already benefits his scalings, and feel good about just dealing with 2 lanes. So getting a little bit easier itemization, can rush into the Abyssal Mask happily. Can Ian in this game, so not going to be on the Orianna for the first time in a while. MVP are basically telling Afreeca Freecs, hey guys, we need to win bot side, otherwise our draft falls apart. How will Afreeca respond around this? Because the game plan from MVP is more straightforward. Afreeca have flexible options with this draft.
And it does depend what Ian wants to do as well, because we've seen Gallios across the world start to build more damage. Things like Leandri's Torment have been coming out with that Abyssal Mask that you can pick up. And Galio can actually be somewhat of a damage threat at the same time. And in a comp like this, where they've already got a Gnar for a lot of tankiness, Sejuani's there and Thresh as well, could be an option, potentially. We'll see what happens though, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get into game number 2 between the Afreeca Freecs and MVP. Can MVP now fight back in game 2? MVP fans raising their voices, understanding that they are falling behind a little bit in this series, but only one game under the belts of the Afreeca Freecs. They need to win 3 as ADD. Looking to make it a little bit easier, but doesn't fully face check, but in comes Spirit. Twisted Advance was leveled, and that's going to be First Blood going over to the jungler. And that's actually a disaster, because Beyond all of a sudden clenches just a little bit harder.
And also, it's after MVP are roundly beaten in game 1. ADD just goes for a very safe defensive fan, and Afreeca have win in this house. This Afreeca Freecs has shown up. They're playing towards a fast series. They want a quick 3-0 and to go home and start scheming for the downfall of Samsung. Because Afreeca have shown up to play, even though we saw Tucson go comically wide on the Grand Entrance. That was a very easy Grand Entrance. Don't know what Tucson was doing. Marin had to invest his flash, but First Blood feels good, and it goes the way of Spirit.
Can Beyond actually punish Marin for not having a flash this early on? And my feeling says probably not, just because he is the Sejuani and things start off a little bit more slowly on the ball lady. Bristle just can't get his stuff sorted out all that quickly.
So we just came off a game 1 where Afreeca showed that they were baiting a Zac pick and were able to expertly take it down with their Draven draft. I just love the little adaptations. Rushing top to try to make a pick with 4 players. That was successful. Kuro walking over to the enemy Wraiths, because what do you see? You see them, the Raptors I should say, you see them starting with a Super Leash and punishing that, and now some more punishment. Remember, it is W level 1.
Yep, that's the knock-up to come in. The flash comes out from ADD, but I'm not sure that's going to be enough as Marin just smacks him with a root in the back of the head, and that is 2 very quick kills for the Afreeca Freecs. This feels like a game 1.
They're playing chess. They're playing the long game. They're playing the psychological side. I love what Afreeca Freecs are doing. Top lane doesn't matter if his flash is down. You don't often see level 1 W skilled. AD knew that. It's a Jarvan, the strongest level 2 ganker available. Didn't respect a red side start because they couldn't get deep vision in after seeing their member go down. There was no answering vision placed by Maha and Max. Feels like MVP might be blown away before we get an hour into game time.
Yeah. And even on the bottom side of the map, Maha takes about half of his health, has to blow his potion very early on, once again, with the hyper-aggressive Doran's Blade start in comparison to Kramer with the shield. A lot of extra sustain, things like that, plus Tushin being there to throw in the heal from the Gleaming Quill, which is, I know, fairly negligible. However, still going to be some form of sustain. More options for Afreeca Freecs.
ADD has to push up. He's on the Gnar into Maokai for a second game in a row. These ganks, you know, if the second kill wasn't there, are possible. It's possible to take down a Maokai because Gnar does so much damage with Fervor, especially if he's exhausted and just in mini form. Spirit should be exhausted by how much work he's done already, but
yeah,
he's going to be invading the enemy jungle.
Taking a heck of a lot of big camps here as well. Still level 3. But only 4 creeps taken. Kuro very early flash, but a lot of respect given as Spirit looking for the counter gank now. As Kuro moves up, Ian's actually very, very low. And in he goes. Big damage coming out from Spirit with that first auto, and Ian will probably have to go home.
Yeah, Kuro was at 69 mana, so he didn't have enough mana to Valkyrie out. That's why he had to flash. Didn't have enough mana by the time to Phosphorus Bomb, so there was kill potential there if they were able to hit the EQ. Nothing to be registered, though.
Yeah, it just felt like Spirit was happy to send a message with that EQ auto. At least landed the damage of the standard.
I think the message has been loud and clear when it comes to the side of MVP.
Yeah.
Fearing the Jarvan, who isn't really interested in camps, has 4 jungle CS. Here's a Swanee.
Yeah, exactly. So Kramer having to use the flash. Explosive shot going to go off as the teleport is cancelled by Marin. Oh, and a hook is going to land, but Battle Dance should be there for Tucson. Actually gets out with the grand entrance. It's beyond. Down to about half health, but he'll be okay. And the lane being brought back to some normalcy here by MVP.
Jarvan finally got another camp, has hit level 4 already from the successful gank since back mid lane.
Yeah, there's the Justice Punch. Kuro is trying to get in the way of him, but thankfully takes the right direction out. Should be fine. A lot of vision for MVP on the bottom side of the river once again, and Mountain Drake to start things off. It's not the cloudy day that we had with the Ocean plus Cloud Drake beginning from game 1. We're starting with some good action. The Mountain Drake being a much more coveted Drake, as there's another dive coming in. Max in a whole host of trouble as Tucson needs to get the hell out. The Ignite not going to be enough to take down the Thresh. Beyond turns up yet again.
This level of aggression from Afreeca is so refreshing to see. They are so aggressive early in this game, looking for a pseudo tower dive there just because Tucson has the easy exit and flash. They thought they have enough burst, but a couple of auto attacks away from doing so. Beyond isn't being shut down like he was in game 1. He is being able to farm. But Spirit's ganking and ganking and ganking, and here's another.
Yep, just feels like his team's getting shut down around him as Spirit wastes no time, just flashes on top of Ian and gets taunted. Doesn't find the knock-up either as Beyond looking for the counter gank. Spirit's taking a lot of damage and doesn't have the flash. Remember, he used it to try and engage. So there's going to be the flash. Ian finds the kill. Just that aggression you were talking about, maybe a little overly applied to that gank from Spirit.
To Central Afreeca Freecs, we saw the high highs in game 1. Game 2 started well, but then they have those weird moments where Kuro should have communicated to Ian that... Sorry, Kuro should have communicated to Spirit that Ian's flash was still up. There wasn't kill pressure there if they got autos in and then EQ'd. He was too close to the turret, so just a very stupid decision coming through from Spirit. No real other way to put it. The kill pressure wasn't there, and they just give over a kill against the flow of the game to MVP.
Yeah, does mean that Afreeca now with only about 300 gold, in the lead over MVP. Pulled it all the way back, feeling absolutely fine. Thankfully for Marin, this time in the same matchup from game number 1, is actually about 10 CS in the lead. It's the teleport going to be used by ADD to get himself back to lane. Marin yet to have his teleport back up, but he's got a Catalyst of the Protector. Everything's A-okay for the Maokai. 1-0-1 now against the 0-2-0 Gnar with only a Pahage to his name. Sorry, Phage.
What is up with you in pronunciations today, Atlas?
Pahage's a fun one, you have to say.
Oh dear. Well, Beyond 6, so much earlier than he was. Remember, he was actually level 5 very late into the previous game, level 3 at 5 minutes. The Valkyrie will get Kuro out.
Yeah, not going to be able to find any joy. Moving down towards the bottom side of the map. Looked like Ian was accompanying him for a moment, but does want to go back and keep the pressure on Kuro. The Afreeca Freecs just, since that mishandled dive in the mid lane, have pulled back a lot on that accelerator.
Goes out of mana.
Ian, yeah, actually finds it. Easy ultimate comes out from Beyond, and Ian grabs his second kill of the game. Very close to even on CS as well in what can be a matchup that's very difficult to farm in for the Galio until you can clear out waves with that Q. Very nicely played. Now Spirit will just have to clear up this creep wave as it heads in.
Clean stuff from MVP 2 times in a row after Afreeca were a bit too egregious with their dive. Suddenly, the early game counts for nothing. The gold lead is gone. It's 100 gold here, 200 gold for MVP. The lanes are in a decent spot. They haven't been able to play around Tristana, but Tristana alone has just already been able to create a 20 CS advantage in the bot side. The only way MVP's draft doesn't beat Afreeca in the mid game was if the Tristana fell down, and certainly hasn't happened here, so things are going to plan after the early game would have been a tilter for any team in the world.
Yeah. Just shows that MVP have been tenacious, and they certainly have in the past as well, being able to pick up wins against the flow of play in series that they certainly shouldn't have been able to. Thinking back to game number 3 against Samsung in the regular season, the last time those two teams met, and it was MVP that were able to get it, clutch it out in the end. And yes, it was a Cogmore composition. Those sort of things do tend to have a late game skill level. However, it certainly is important to mention that MVP not often tilted, even after a shocker of a season.
It's been bot lane so long, even though Tristana has everything up.
Well, the hook's gonna land. That's just the explosion already. It's a 2 versus 2. And with the teleport coming down from Ian, means that no follow-up can come in from the Afreeca Freecs.
Quickly the pendulum can swing, Atlas. Suddenly Afreeca look all at sea when it comes to communication. Spirit staying for so long when the grand entrance missed from Tucson. They were never going to pressure out even a rocket jump. Free kill after the bait. And speaking of kills...
Yep, there is a flash there. Kuro's going to use it as well. Spirit makes his way back in. Good knock-up as Kuro is able to get free damage. The heroic entrance comes in, and Ian actually survives that one. Beyond... a lot of damage opportunity, or at least enough to take down the Corki, means that no further aggression onto Ian. It was a good counter gank from Spirit, however, not enough to actually get anything of note.
Grand entrance being blown relieves a bit of pressure around bot side, so maybe Spirit will make a return gank the next time his Cataclysm is up and make something happen. But otherwise, like you say, no one goes down. Snowball isn't accelerated by MVP. But Afreeca need to get their bearings back. They can't keep feeling good about Game 1 or even how Game 2 started, because this game is in danger of heavily tipping to MVP. This is the time when MVP, they complete an item on the Tristana, Berserker Greaves, and maybe even just an Infinity Edge would be enough power with all the CC and base damage they have on the other members to start pushing for objectives. When it comes to map control right now is pretty solid bot side, and that's really all MVP need to do, set up the Tristana.
I even think that if they complete the Berserker's Greaves and maybe even get a Zeal, just forego the Infinity Edge for the moment and start pushing down these turrets. MVP do have one of these compositions that can threaten dives so well with that heroic entrance. They've just got so many options. I'm not saying that, you know, not completing the Infinity Edge plus the Berserker's Greaves, not saying that's a bad idea at all. It just means that MVP with this composition at this point in time, given where they are, can do a lot of things and still find success. It's a fantastic place to be in a composition that we were expecting was going to be difficult to execute, given we understand exactly where their power lies.
I don't disagree with you. Maha is our resident Infinity Edge rusher.
He is, yeah.
He will rush Infinity Edge on Caitlyn, on Jhin, on basically everything, whether it is a standard practice or not, compared to most people.
Ash was my favorite one.
Yep, Infinity Edge
rush Ash.
Most people will go into the Zeal item completion because you get more there, but hey, if you get those crits, feels good. There's the ult.
Yeah, the 1-2 punch coming in from the Winter's Wrath from the Glacial Prison, but Ian not there to follow up the Justice Punch, use that close distance instead of the CC, so Kuro's going to be okay, but still loses most of his mana, and ADD now in trouble as Marin getting very aggressive on this kitty cat.
He knows Spirit's coming.
Yep, Flash comes in, Hop is going to be back up relatively soon, but Cataclysm starts this fight off. He wants to find the knock-up, and there it is. Marin grabs the kill, as now Ian's going to turn up. The Freecs know exactly what's going on, as there's the quickness grand entrance. Actually doing a great job here by Tucson as the teleport is going to be completed by Kuro. Successfully keeping his bottom lane alive as Marin. That was the deepest teleport I've ever seen as Maha. He's in trouble. Marin doesn't have the flash, remember. They're looking for any target they can find. There's a bit of a pincer maneuver coming in from MVP. They do set it up nicely. Remember, no glacial prison for this fight. And Marin getting exploded does use the Nature's Grasp as there's lots of work being done. Max in trouble. Heroic entrance coming in. Featherstorm is going to help take down the Thresh as ADD now in trouble. Marin just playing with vision and ADD is going to fall down. Marin survives. It's a double kill for the Xayah and one picked up for the tree for good measure. The Afreeca Freecs, Spirit's now in the mid lane. They turn it all around.
Spirit was in the mid lane the entire time. It started off a 4v4. It became a 4v5 when the teleport was completed by ADD. But Afreeca go 2 for 0. Ian with a late teleport wants to keep this turret up, but he doesn't have anyone else around. They know that they're going to be in base, so the teleport's wasted as well. And ADD with another teleport. If he had Black Cleaver, if he hadn't have fallen so far behind in lane, it might have meant something, but ended up just being a bonus kill for Afreeca Freecs.
Yeah, and now he's 0-4-0 against the 3-0-3 Marin. Not sure how, at 14 minutes into the game, the top laner has 100% kill participation, but there you go. Just Marin things, Papa Smithy. Take us through this fight.
So the first teleport comes in defensively from Kuro. The teleport into roam down from Marin. He took a blast cone to get that particular direction. Can't actually engage, and you think, okay, maybe they wasted 2 teleports. I'll start backing away. But what is communicated to MVP is we have teleport in 5 seconds, and Spirit's not coming. It's going to be a 4v5. Go for it. But when it comes to target selection, Maha's not able to put out a lot of damage. When you're diving into Afreeca, they have the box. They have Hero's Entrance coming into them, but don't have to respect any damage from Ian. So because Maha hasn't hit Zeal, hasn't hit Infinity Edge, MVP just don't have the damage right this second to force things. They over-pursue, they don't have the right target acquisition, so it's just a little bit of damage onto multiple members, and Afreeca get about the maximum you could ever hope for.
Kuro actually looking for Ian, does, you know, about a shield's worth of damage, not too much, and they do get first brick, remember, from earlier on, so 3,000 gold, well, 2.5 is going to be the lead. ADD looking for Marin, Nature's Grasp comes in, and there's the Glacial Prison. Marin should be taken out here. Sap Magic unable to go off like it saved him in that previous fight, and he is punished, and a big bounty actually picked up as well as he was on a killing spree, but this is going to spell the end of the outer turret in the mid lane. Max is going to turn up, but even a Gleaming Quill is enough to deter him from going for any sort of engage. And there's the Flash Cataclysm out from Spirit. He's looking for the knock-up. Does not find it.
Meganar's going to be hit as well.
Okay, Spirit, you need to be very, very careful. Goes back to his original standard. That was cute. Gets underneath his turret. ADD looking for it. Not sure where that particular thing was going. What was that? A bit of foundation of a building or something like that. Haven't had enough experience with this particular Narskian, Pop Smithy. I like him throwing clocks. That's my favorite. Clocks are helicopters.
Game is very finely poised. Afreeca got a big advantage from the shenanigans bot lane, the misfires from MVP, but item's going to start being completed soon for Maha. He actually went for Ninja Tabi, which you see why. With the comp that he's facing, it's going to be some auto attack damage from Corki, but the magic damage quotient is still going to be larger. Jarvan and the Xayah doing 80 damage as well, but it slows down on his damage, and someone needs to do damage here. Maybe now it's the Gnar who finally picked up a kill, has a Black Cleaver, but it's only base damages on the others. So does this mean they have to give up the next 5 minutes when it comes to team fights? That's going to be a worry because late game damage is just going to be Tristana. It's Tristana exclusive in the late game, where their power is right now. From our experience in the LCK, if you're Tristana as a solo damage dealer, you can be zoned out of fights whenever your Q is on cooldown.
Yeah, and we've seen Tristana have such high priority, but you're right, often it can fall flat no matter whose hands it's in. You know, some of the best in the world have picked up the Trist and not necessarily found out the most success. But we'll see what MVP can do, because it looks like Ian is actually going for a little bit more damage in his build. Could be going for anything. That could be a Zhonya's Hourglass out of that cloth armor. But he does have 4 stacks on his Dark Seal, as well as the cheeky Doran's Ring. And that Abyssal Mask working out, giving him a little bit more, as Kramer going to help take down this Mountain Drake and will fall without any hindrance from MVP's roster.
Cloud going to be the next spawn, so we'll be less.
Oh, back to Sad.
Yep, it's been more of the story today. See how the sad times are at as ADD. He's actually caught under turret.
Yeah, he's going to go into Mega Gnar. Max is here at least to help him out.
Entourage is coming, but first from MVP. Afreeca a little bit further away and the back away from responding to top lane.
Yep. Spirit making his way in, but not a lot of minion wave to speak of in this mid lane, so MVP not exactly under a lot of pressure there as Ian pushes back out this bottom lane. Crow down here though, so he's just clearing out the Krog camp. Freecs want to take down this ward, but couldn't for the moment. Will they take the Rift Herald is the question. It's only got about a minute 20 to go. And it looks like that is not going to be the focus. They want to find someone in transition beyond. Could be their target.
Oh, Maha should not be face checking.
Most certainly shouldn't, and the quickness means that he's just dead. Graham is able to grab that kill all too easily. No Dark Passage in the world is enough to save the Tristana from that. And that was just a misplay.
They just didn't have control of that area. They just saw Afreeca around the minion wave. The chances of them being there in a control ward with all the pick engage that Tucson has was too high to be that disrespectful in an elimination best of 5. Those are the sort of mistakes that put so much pressure onto MVP to even not get relegated, Atlas. And
yeah.
Unfortunate time to return to them will just allow Afreeca a free Rift Herald. Marin free hitting on the top lane turret because they have to respect ADD at least, that there could be other members topside. Real quizzical stuff from MVP. ADD at level 1 and now Maha as well midway through the game.
It's unfortunate. And you do not want to let Afreeca Freecs get to a match point because they're not one of those teams that gets tilted and then loses 3 games in a row. They're one of those teams that honestly every game is a fresh start. It feels like you can get any experience from the Afreeca Freecs that you want, and you don't want to choose your own adventure 3 times in a row with your life on the line.
And you have to talk about drafts as well. You know, we saw a successful gank a couple of moments ago from Beyond onto ADD's lane. But the fact that he had to be ganking the Nars lane and not ganking for the Tristana is already a misfire, is already a sign that top lane was on fire to the point where they couldn't play around Maha. And Maha, having died, having been a little bit of CS down, going for a more defensive boot choice, is not strong enough to pull off the mid-game win conditions that MVP drafted for. So even if they get the fight, then in another game would be exactly what they want. KT Rolster, for example, with a draft like this, 5,000 gold up, 2 items on the Tristana would feel so good. If you draft like this and Nar loses to Maokai and Tristana gets no ganks, you've already messed up your win conditions, and honestly, you probably lose more than 8 times out of 10.
Yeah. Does feel like this is just a losing scenario being played out. Maha now following Max, thank goodness, as Ian sets himself up to try and find Tucson. Gets the grand entrance, the quickness is going to be utilized as well, and thankfully with the movement speed, he gets out with only a bomb on his skull, and does also have himself a shield to stop that from doing anything. Marin looking for the twisted advance and will find it, but good hop gets him out of the way. Look at the damage from Kuro though. Nature's Grasp comes in as Kuro was so ready for that Valkyrie. Gets over the wall, gets the kill, and somehow it goes to Marin. Not sure how that one works out as Grand Entrance doesn't find Maha. Good rocket jump timing to get him out of the way.
Not enough vision on the map. Feels like MVP's being caught everywhere. We saw bot, we saw top, we're seeing mid now.
Yep, thankfully Ian is going to turn up to try and help him. Half the health bar of the Thresh removed, but it's just going to be creeps falling down. Marin here able to kill all of these on the bottom side. He's slightly missing out on 100% kill contribution, but 7 out of 8 is not bad at all. If it was a movie, that'd still be a good movie.
That's true. It'd be watchable. MVP are a watchable team, whether they're winning or losing, but with no control wards, they have nowhere to run the map. That means they just get dived in every lane.
Yeah. No Sejuani or Bristle as well. It was Beyond. It's pressured out. He's actually going to head back as well, and it looks like this tower will be in trouble.
Holy
as Crow
crap.
delivers a package to Maha. Buster Shot comes down, but Spirit says, I'm happy to get under turrets. You have to use that flash, and the heroic entrance is going to come in, and Kramer just delivered all the space in the world because Afreeca Freecs, I mean, they took their foot off the pedal for, what was it, about 10 minutes? And now it's back on, and I think it's stuck there. We've got like a speed situation happening here. Keanu Reeves needs to be called because he's got to save Sandra Bullock once again.
We are seeing Afreeca play with so much confidence now that they've had that moment where people checked in and they're like, wait, are we all right? Are we all right? After they made their misfires earlier, they're going back to relentless aggression, and MVP are getting caught everywhere because the draft they have is supposed to be proactive. It's supposed to be everywhere Sejuani goes, Hero's Entrance, Gnar teleport, Tristana free hitting. Instead, it's them being caught across the map. Usually with these sort of drafts, you get an inherent advantage because the enemy team is like, we have to respect that Galio and Gnar can be there at any time. Thresh can lantern someone in. because they're losing, they're being forced to fight 2v2s, not starting 5v5s of their own volition. And that means that people getting caught, deaths are coming, turrets are going down. Kuro might be caught, though.
Yep, he's looking extraordinarily dead. Death sentence there is going to be exactly that. And they do manage to get the turret. Now Tushin, he could be in trouble as the quickness is thrown down. Battle Dance to get over to Kramer, and that has the extended range, so he's going to be fine. Beyond trying to clear out this wave. As you can see, MVP going for their coveted 23-minute Baron no matter what.
MVP gave a famous interview where they said they're happy in Smite contest matches. Well, they feel like the only way to win this game is to force down the Baron. I'm not sure they're going to peel off at Atlas. They really like forcing Baron Smites.
Yeah, 50-50s are exactly where MVP live. We'll see whether Beyond is going to be enough to do it, but it's in flag and drag range. Spirit is going to make this well and truly the 50-50 that we were talking about. That's going to be the Smite coming in for Beyond, so they do at least get the Baron, but Kramer's picking up kills. He's at full health. Ian will be in a lot of trouble. Hook does land onto the Xayah as Max doing some work. Beyond very, very tanky, but look at this.
Kramer.
Oh, that Blade Caller did so much work. Heroic entrance comes down. Kramer could be in trouble. Wins the rough, but he still had the flash. It doesn't matter. That's the ace. Where's your Baron now, MVP? They only got one kill, and that is a massacre for the Afreeca Freecs.
Dignitas sends their regards with a Baron like that. Corki had teleport. MVP always try these Barons. They stick on them. Because of the early game, it was arguable that Baron was one of the only ways it could get over, but you need to be willing to peel off. This MVP team doesn't. They're going to lose most of their base. They lose all of their lives. All they are left with is the gold. There goes the inhibitor as well, and MVP staring down, being 2-0 down in this series. Any more teamfight losses, it's all over.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter about the gold. I mean, the only gold that really matters this time around, Papa, is that 50 gold you get from killing the Nexus, and it looks like Afreeca Freecs are well and truly on their way to doing that. Don't need to deal with empowered minions. Of course, now they have to wait a few minutes before they can take a Baron of their own, but they've already broken the base in two. They've got inner turrets to take down as well with all of that added pressure. Let's have a look at this one again. It was a good smite by Beyond, but a bad one, honestly, from Spirit.
Yeah, Spirit's first one was at 1,006 HP when he was level 12. The maximum smite damage is 1,000, so that was just bad, like you say. I mean, it's a bit of a crapshoot when you're respecting different types of damage coming in. But after that, the fight goes long enough that Corki's going to be there. I love the teleport from Kuro. It's actually at the top to stop there being an exit route northwise. They have to go all funnel down, and that was where Kramer was free hitting, picking up multiple kills. They get the gold advantage there, MVP, because they do pick up the Baron, but they don't get any tempo from it, and the tempo side with the buffs is what the Baron is all about. Suddenly, freshly shopped, 3 items and a QSS onto Kramer. Kuro was already aggressive before and soon going to be piling in some items as well. Goes back and buys a Shiv, double Zeal item completed. Doesn't look like Afreeca is going to lose any sort of potential team fight, and doesn't feel like Maha will ever have enough damage to actually puncture through Afreeca's front.
And what an incredible performance from Kramer so far this series as well. I mean, the Draven doing so much work. It was a shutout by Afreeca Freecs in game number 1, and now just quietly 5-0-4 coming out of that bottom lane. Even though, you know, Maha did have a relative advantage in the early game, he's just been cleaning up, and that was one of the best Feather Storms for value as far as damage that I have ever seen in that last team fight.
The thing with Afreeca is that other teams kind of have a whipping boy, right? I felt like in Rock's Tigers 2015, 2016, it was always Kuro. Why did Kuro do this? Whenever a loss came in, there was one person. I think most teams have one player that fans kind of unify behind, but we'll hold that point.
Yeah, Kramer almost in trouble. Winter's Wrath doesn't find him. Heroic entrance is going to come down, and Marin taking all of the punishment. Massive shield, though, from Courage of the Colossus keeps him alive. And ADD, he's dealt with Marin. Still up, still doing the work that he needs to, and Kramer once again untouched in the backline, just getting all of the AoE. Tucson gets himself out. Buster Shot actually delivers Marin to safety at the same time, and Kramer's just getting auto attack after auto attack. Max is eviscerated on the front line, and Kuro wasn't even there. God damn it, it's another 4v5.
The 4v5s are fine, Atlas. That's how far ahead they are. There's not enough damage on the side of MVP. Maha is zoned out so damn early. No one can take down the tree. No lumberjacks in the world can take down the Maokai, and Afreeca just want to pick up win 2.
Yep, they're looking for it. Nexus turret's now under siege as Tucson's just running around this battlefield like nothing bothers him at all. Marin once again down to extraordinarily low health, but you know his favorite thing, it's tanking turret shots, and he does so for as long as he likes. Ian now getting cut in half. Marin Kramer just having a field day, so much auto attack damage, and now that 50 gold we were talking about is going to put Afreeca Freecs at match point in the World's qualifying gauntlet. This is only match 1, but if you can start off with a statement like this, Samsung and KT got to be quivering.
It seems like Afreeca Freecs have a 7:30 dinner reservation, Atlas. They are not taking their foot off the accelerator. They're looking forward to a match against Samsung in 2 days. And as we know with Afreeca, it's a roll of the dice to see if that will be the team on Wednesday that showed up on Monday. But the point I was trying to get to is that most teams have a single scapegoat. Not Afreeca Freecs. Spirit some days, Marin other days. Kuro has had his down games. Even Tucson, who has been largely reliable this season, has wavered. Kramer has not. Kramer has had quietly an excellent season from the AD carry role. 2 games in a row, he goes deathless and carries. First game, it was all about him. Second game, it was comfort for him. And Afreeca Freecs are making MVP look like a lower place team, and Afreeca Freecs are looking like a real contender in the World's qualifier.
Yeah, and it's feeling like massive revenge coming out from their previous matchup, Papa, because MVP were able to storm the gates once that game number 1 was in the bank. But now, Afreeca Freecs make game number 2 look the same way. And if Afreeca Freecs find consistency, we know what they're capable of. It has nothing to do with their opposition. If they play their game, it's going to be a victory. But we are going to take a short break. When we get back, the deciding game potentially for Afreeca Freecs.